If you're beginning to feel like you've exhausted all of the existing backing tracks on YouTube when practicing your modes, it's probably about time you started experimenting with making your own. It's a really good way of getting to know the songwriting capability of each mode as well. And it'll give you a chance to finally use that looper that you've left lying around. So let's get started. Right, so the mode I'm going to be talking about today is the Dorian mode. You can use this technique to practice any of the modes, but I'm going to stick with Dorian for today. I'm going to be doing this in the key of E. So first of all, an E Dorian mode is as follows. E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D, and then back to E. So interval-wise, it's very similar to a natural minor scale, except that it's got a major sixth in it. So the intervals are a root note, a second, a minor third, a perfect fourth, perfect fifth, major sixth, minor seventh, and then octave. And that major sixth is what really gives it its distinctive character, as we shall come back to. First of all, though, we need to start building up our loop so we can make our simple little backing track. So I'm going to do just a 2-bar loop at quite a slow to moderate sort of a tempo. So first of all, I'm just going to do a bit of percussive business like that we can build on the top of. Right, here we go. Cool, alright, next up then we're going to need some chords. Now typically if you dial up a backing track in E Dorian or anything Dorian, you are more than likely going to be presented with a very particular chord change. It's going to be moving between the root chord and the fourth, usually. The root chord is constructed by taking the first, third and fifth note of the scale, which was E, G and B, which gives us an E minor chord. So that would function as our root chord. Then if we do the same thing but starting on the fourth note of the Dorian mode, which was A, we get A, C sharp and E, which is an A major. So you get this very distinctive chord change. Different, of course, from if we were in E natural minor, because the E natural minor would have a C natural note in it, which would make that A chord a minor as well. But the Dorian classic change is a root minor chord moving up to the fourth chord as a major. And that's absolutely fine, of course, and we could certainly do something like that, but there are other options. Something that I really like to do to really explore the tone of any modal scale is, first of all, establish kind of a drone. So we're going to keep the E in the background running over both chords. I'll start with an E minor, as you would expect, our root chord. But a really nice way of getting to know the character of the mode is to move up just a single chord within the key. So our second chord within the key of E Dorian would be starting on the F sharp note, because F sharp was the second note in the scale. And if we follow that same process of taking the first, third and fifth note, we end up with F sharp, A and C sharp, which is an F sharp minor. And it just gives it a little bit of a different character. And I'm going to maintain, as I say, that E root note in the bass. And I might, when I move up to the F sharp minor, I'm going to keep the open E and B strings as well. So they're acting as a sort of a drone too. So I'll add that to the loop. Right, next up we're going to want some sort of a bass line. Now, if we take those two chords, those two triads, E minor and F sharp minor, and we expand a little bit further and include the seventh, we end up with two minor seventh chords. So if, for example, if we start with the E, move up to the G, then the B, and then move up to the notes 7 notes above the E, we have the D. Which gives us an E minor 7 arpeggio. And likewise for the F sharp minor, if we include the notes 7 notes above the F sharp, we get F sharp, A, C sharp, and E. And there you have an F sharp minor 7 arpeggio. And arpeggios are a great thing to explore in this context. When guitarists learn arpeggios for the first time, I find they often aren't really sure what to do with them and end up with a sort of a creeping sense that they need to start liking jazz or something to explore them. But actually they work great for bass parts. So I'm going to drop the octave using my pitch shifter pedal as well, which is not essential but gives it not quite authenticity, but something almost close to authenticity. And I'll just pick around those arpeggios for each chord to add a little bit of a bass line. Okay, I think there's room for one more overdub. Okay, so for my overdub, I want there to be a little bit of a textural contrast and for it to be given a little bit of extra momentum. So what I'm going to do is just pick very lightly around the two chord shapes that I was playing earlier. I'm going to pick quite softly because I don't want that to take up too much space on the thing. I'm going to add a little bit of tremolo and a little bit of delay as well, though. Give it a little bit of character. Right, let's see what we can do there. And you've got the makings of a very simple backing track that you can play around with. So when you start playing around with it, you'll realise that of course it's still Dorian, but it's a track with quite a different flavour than the typical sort of funk groove that moving between the E minor and A major chord that I mentioned earlier. And it's a good idea when you're playing around over the top of this to try and play melodically, try and target that major sixth, the C sharp over the second chord, the F sharp minor chord, because that's the chord that has the C sharp in it. So, for example, let's get a bit of drive on this. go, a couple of ideas to come at modal practice from a little bit of a different angle. Really hope there was some stuff of interest there to you. If so, please consider liking and subscribing and all that usual business. Thank you ever so much for watching. I'll see you with something else soon. Cheers.